Hope you're ready. It's going to be a long one. Welcome back to more Let's Play Mega Man X3. First things first, Gravity Beetle. His special weapon has a different name if you're playing Mega Man X3 versus Rockman X3. We're going to see both names pop up right now. The Gravity Well in the West and Bug Hole for Rockman X3. Next thing to cover, we're going back to the intro real quick because I want to show off just a couple of things. First of all, you'd have no access to Zero in the intro until he actually introduces himself as part of the story. That's just you can still go into the menu and find the screen where he pops up, but you can't actually take control. You can't actually switch over to Zero in the intro outside the section where you can actually play as him. This enemy here has a very rare behavior where it can jump towards X. You rarely see that, but I just wanted to show that's a thing. Next, Zero cannot free X from Mac's trap until Mac is dead. Zero has to kill Mac in order to free X. You can do as much damage as you want to that little thing that is keeping X imprisoned, but you won't be able to actually free X until Mac is dead. After which, one hit will destroy that thing that is keeping X trapped. As you can see right now, it's going to right after Mac disappears is when you will be able to destroy that thing. And again, before Zero introduces himself in the intro stage and after he disappears to go and scout out the situation, you cannot switch over to Zero at all. Just, again, more limitations of how Zero works. But in this case, they're story related, so it's a little more, it makes a little bit more sense in this case, comparatively. But again, you can't switch over to Zero at all. Last thing I want to discuss about the intro is boss behavior. I mentioned in the first video how Mao the Giant can't destroy the arena that you're standing on entirely. It can only do a certain amount of damage. Basically, it can only do one layer of damage, one layer of superficial damage with its punches, and you'll be seeing that right now. It's gonna be punching repeatedly onto the arena, but it's only going to be able to do a certain amount of superficial visible damage. So, there's one punch to do a little bit, but now it's going to be punching repeatedly now that I've cut to it. But it can only destroy the arena up to a certain point. All right, now we can move on to Maverick number 5. Here we go. I said in the previous video, the FMVs are fantastic. They remain fantastic. They're all really fantastic. Really wish it was included in the Legacy Collection in some way, shape, or form, but it wasn't. They included the Maverick Hunter X Day of Sigma thing, but not the FMVs from X3. Oh well, that's a tactical boo-boo on their part, I think. Regardless, now we're in the episode for real. This is Blast Hornet stage. This is going to be the beginning of turning the tide of the difficulty for us. By the way, I'm showing off that elevator has no secrets underneath it, unlike the wire sponge elevator in X2, which did have a secret underneath it. That one doesn't. Going after Blast Hornet in this episode first is the beginning of turning the tide of difficulty. I went on and on in the previous video on how Mega Man X3 is a difficult game, comparatively to X1 and X2. It's a very, very difficult game. Here's another Ride Armor platform. We can't use it yet because we haven't unlocked Ride Armors yet, but we will soon. X3 is a very difficult game. This stage is the beginning of turning the tide on that difficulty. Showing off here the how Gravity Beetle's weapon works. It's okay. It's not something you're going to be using all that often. The problem with quite a few of the weapons in Mega Man X3 actually is that they stick around the screen for so long that you don't have the ability to quick swap between your special weapons that often, which leaves you vulnerable. It's one of the reasons why the weapons in X3 just aren't that great. Like like Frost Shield right there. It's great for gathering health, but if you're trying to use it offensively in regular fighting, then you're going to find that pieces of the Frost Shield remain on screen for so long that you can't actually hot swap to any other weapons, and you can only fire 2 Frost Shields at a time, so once they're both on screen, you can't really do anything. It's annoying. This mini-boss, the Shuriken Hologram, has 3 distinct battle phases. It has this first one where it just goes left and right and jumps around occasionally to try to get an X. It has that second phase that we saw right now where it travels along the ground and the walls and the ceiling, and it's going to have a third phase where it turns into like an actual proper shuriken and just bounces around the arena. It usually only does that the third form, the shuriken, the true shuriken form, where it just bounces around. This form right here, where it's bouncing around, it only does this when it's low on health. So if it starts doing this, you know that you're almost done with the fight. I find, as you can see, we're already done with the fight. Very, very simple mini boss. We'll go over the weaknesses for this, the weakness for this mini boss and weaknesses for other mini bosses as we go through the video. This video is not over an hour long for no reason. It's because there's a lot of stuff to cover. Mega Man X3 is just a very, very big game compared to X1 and X2. There's a lot of stuff to go over. Just a ton of it. This area in particular has its own big secret to hide in that it has a very special collectible for us. It's not an emblem, it's not a heart tank, it's not a sub-tank. It is, in fact, the full-on ride armor itself. These crates can be destroyed via a variety of weapons. I think Tunnel Rhino's weapon, Crushed Crawfish's weapon, those crates can be destroyed by quite a few weapons. But the only weapon you can actually properly use in this area to get at the ride armor that we're going to be collecting in a second is Tunnel Rhino. You can use Crushed Crawfish to destroy the crates, but only Tunnel Rhino can destroy the walls, I find. Tunnel Rhino and a punch from the ride armor, but you can't actually get the ride armor until you use Tunnel Rhino to break through that first wall. So now I'm switching over to Zero. We haven't had much luck with what Zero can do thus far. He's very, very limited, but let's see if he can use ride armor. No. The answer is no. He obviously can't use the ride armor. Why would he be able to use the ride armor? He can't do any of the other stuff. Why would he be able to do that? No, we need to switch back over to X. You will notice, though, when I was switching over to X, that we had the N emblem. As soon as you free this ride armor, the Chimera ride armor, you unlock the N emblem for the ride armor, which allows you to use all ride armors across all ride armor platforms, across every single stage that has a ride armor platform, which is most of them. The only stages that don't include ride armor platforms are the intro stage, Tunnel Rhino stage, and a couple of the Final Fortress stages don't include them as well. Right now I'm showing off that we have a very special enemy encounter here if you visit Blast Hornet before defeating Gravity Beetle. Obviously, at the end of the previous video, we beat Gravity Beetle, so we weren't going to get this fight. But if you come to the stage before beating Gravity Beetle, then you encounter the Carry Arm enemies here. They're very weird. They don't do much of anything. They just drop off some crates to be delivered over to the airfield where Gravity Beetle is at. Once they drop off 2 crates, a defense turret will pop up underneath the underneath Doppler's flying battleship here, or flying transport carrier here, to defend the crates and shoot at X and the ride armor. You just have to destroy, I think, 6 crates for this whole thing to end. Destroy 6 crates, the transport platform just goes away, and that's the end of the encounter. Very strange. Right now I'm showing off me revisiting Blast Hornet stage. The reason I'm showing off revisiting Blast Hornet stage is because the ride armor is gone. You can only use the ride armor in this area the very first time you unlock it. If you die, or if you revisit the stage afterwards, the ride armor disappears from here. You can still use ride armor in the stage, but you just have to use it from the ride armor platform at the start that we saw. Which means if you come here before defeating Gravity Beetle, you have to fight this special Carry Arm enemy without the ride armor. You only get one chance to really fight this thing with the ride armor, and that's if you visit the stage before defeating Gravity Beetle and haven't unlocked the ride armor yet. Then you can actually use the ride armor here the very first time you go through this area. But then every other subsequent time you can't. Again, very strange, weird little kind of nothing encounter. It is notable for being one of the few special encounters that Zero can partake in. He can fight the Carry Arm enemy if you are using him at this point. Again, it's a very weird nothing encounter. Carry Arms drop 2 crates. The crates stay there basically indefinitely, and the turrets will occasionally pop down after both crates have been placed to defend the precious cargo, but it doesn't disappear, at least not anytime soon. I'm speeding up here to, pass a lot of time as I'm waiting for something else to happen, but nothing happens until you destroy them, and then finally the cargo container just goes away. So it's very strange. It's a very weird little encounter. Anyway, we're back to regular footage now. We're visiting the stage after beating Gravity Beetle. That carry-on thing doesn't appear at all. You can use the right armor here to get at the hard tank, but if you don't have it, if it despawns on you because you left the screen for a little bit, then you can use the leg upgrade. Or if you revisit this area of the stage to pick up things that you missed, then you won't have the right armor because the right armor will disappear after the first time you visit this area, in which case you will be able to just use the leg upgrade to get to where that hard tank is. Very strange little enemy, the right armor. This is another Nightmare Police sub-boss room. Every single stage, and every single one of the main Maverick stages include a Nightmare Police room. No Nightmare Police encounter for us just yet. But remember that Bit can appear in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th stage of your run, and Bite will appear in the 6th, 7th, or 8th stage of your run. So we've already beaten Bit in the previous episode. In this episode, we're going to be taking on Bite. We're also seeing a lot of these red head gunner turret enemies that can fire homing missiles and shoot grenades. They're being shown off here right before the boss because of one of the things that changes when you beat Blast Hornet. Again, Mega Man X3 brings back the gimmick of stages changing a little bit based on if you've based on which Mavericks you've beaten. We discussed the carry-on thing. We're now going to discuss the changes that happen after Blast Hornet after we beat Blast Hornet. So Blast Hornet is actually pretty tough. I would not go after him first. If he stings you, that does massive damage to you. It does even more damage compared than contact damage. Don't get stung because it does tons of damage, even more than just traditional contact damage. He will fire out little hornets at you to try and get at you. If they hit X, they will attach, they will do a little bit of damage, and then they will blow up after a while. So they do damage on contact, they do damage over time, and then they do damage one more time when they blow up on X. So they're very dangerous. Don't get hit by the little mini wasps that the Blast Hornet shoots out. And the second phase of the fight, he will transition over into his desperation attack, which is Parasitic Bomb, where he is going to try to get a lock on X and then fire more of his wasps out to get at you. If he gets a lock, then obviously the wasps are going to be able to home in on you. I would recommend having one sub tank for this fight. It's a very difficult battle. Comparatively, this is why we wait so long for Blast Hornet. Not just because of the item collection order, but because Blast Hornet can be genuinely pretty difficult. He flies in a figure eight. He flies around from one area of the room to another. You have to be very quick on the draw for Blast Hornet, and be ready to react to his very few but dangerous attacks. The sting, firing out the little mini hornets, and then the Parasitic Bomb desperation move for the second half of the fight. Beating him, however, gives us our own version of the Parasitic Bomb. I will note, by the way, I made a note at the beginning of the video how Gravity Beetle's weapon changes names from Rockman X3 to Mega Man X3. How it was it's one name in Rockman X3 and another name in Mega Man X3. It's only one of two weapons that changes names, so the other ones don't have different names, with one other exception, which we'll get to at the very end of the video. Now that we've beaten Blast Hornet, we're going to go back to Gravity Beetle's stage and experience yet another stage change. So in this case, since Blast Hornet has been beaten, we will see both that the head gunner enemies, those red turret enemies that we saw laid across, laid in front of us before the boss room in Blast Hornet stage, are now all cheaper and worse. They are the green head gunner variants of the enemies, which can only shoot missiles. The missiles don't home in on you, and it can't shoot grenades anymore. I'm showing off the Parasitic Bomb now. It can do two things depending on if you use it on a heavy enemy or a light enemy. On a heavy enemy, it just holds it in place until it eventually explodes and destroys it. On a light enemy, it will actually carry the light enemy to attack another enemy that is on screen, as you can see. And once Parasitic Bomb homes in on an enemy and keeps it in place, you can actually safely walk through that enemy without fear. Now we're going to see if Zero can collect heart tanks. I'm sure you know the answer by now, based on everything we've seen, but no, of course he can't collect heart tanks. That would be silly. Why would he be able to do that when he has full health? So you have to have X out if you're going to be collecting heart tanks and sub tanks and the ride armor. and most everything. It's very unfortunate. Now, we've gotten the hard tank, and we've gotten the ride armor emblem. There is one more hidden item in this stage, and it is going to tie into the ride armor that we collected in the previous stage. So we need to do some movement. By the way, holding a light enemy in place, you know that the parasitic bomb holds a light enemy in place if the enemy isn't held in place, but it's actually sort of floating around in a small little circle. That's how you know that the parasitic bomb has a hold on a small enemy as compared to a big enemy. Now I have parasitic bomb charged up, and this is basically the desperation attack that Blast Hornet was using in the second half of the boss fight, where I'm shooting out my own little hornets on things that I lock in on. Very useful. Parasitic Bomb is one of the better special weapons in Mega Man X3, I think. The best, of course, I think, is a Ray Splasher, but Parasitic Bomb is pretty good too. We're going to be speeding through the rest of the stage. By the way, I'm also going to show off here that there's nothing hidden underneath this elevator either. Unlike in X2, where there was a little secret hidden underneath the elevator in Wire Sponge's stage, neither the elevator in Blast Hornet or the elevator in Gravity Beetle have anything of significant value, except for death, if you find that of value. So now that we actually have the normal ride armor, when we interact with a ride armor platform, we can pick between one of 4 different ride armors. We have to actually collect all the other ride armors. We only have 2 so far. The F that we collected in this very stage, and the N, or the Chimera ride armor that we secured from Blast Hornet stage. Once you step off of the platform with a ride armor, you can step back on the platform with the ride armor, and you will be able to switch ride armors. Frog armor is useless. That's the F armor that I'm using right there, by the way. Frog armor has very, very specific niche use that we'll get into later in the video and in the next video. For the most part, you're going to be using Chimera ride armor for most anything that requires a ride armor, because you just need the ride armors are a good idea, but they're very half-baked, by the way. As soon as you leave the screen, I'm going to demonstrate right here by leaving the screen enough, the ride armor will despawn, but if the ride armor despawns, it's okay, because you can just come back to the ride armor platform and get another ride armor. If a ride armor is destroyed, however, as we will see towards the end of the video, or as we'll see actually in the next video, I believe. Yeah, I believe in the next video we'll see an instance of ride armor being destroyed, and then what happens if you go back to a ride armor platform after a ride armor is destroyed. Ride armor has its own health bar, as you can see in the top left. Once you lose all your health, the ride armor is destroyed. You can still keep using it in other levels. You just can't use it in this level until you're done. This is a pink Dr. Light capsule, an enhancement capsule. In order to use an enhancement capsule, you have to have the proper Dr. Light blue capsule upgrade first. So in this case, this is an enhancement for the arm parts. So since I've already collected the blue capsule that contained the arm parts upgrade, I can now collect the arm parts enhancement chip if I want to. But as Dr. Light is explaining right now, you can only install 1 enhancement chip per playthrough, unless you're using passwords, in which case I think you can install up to 3. But if you're just playing the game without passwords, you can only install 1 of these at a time. This is separate footage right now that I have swapped to, where I am showing off what the arm parts enhancement chip does. On its surface, it doesn't seem to have done anything. I still have the same exact charge, plus the Z-Saber. That's a secret thing that we're going to talk about in the next video. The thing that the arm parts enhancement capsule gives you is the Hyper Chip. It is the Hyper Chip special weapon, which basically allows you to shoot charged shots like they were regular shots. You don't have to spend the time to actually charge the shot. X automatically has his shots charged, and you can just go. You can just fire charged shots. If you switch out the Hyper Chip when it's not at full special weapon, when it's not at a full bar, then you can no longer use the Hyper Chip enhancement. You have to take enough damage, and yes, you have to take damage in order for the Hyper Chip special weapon meter to fill back up again. And only when it is fully filled up again can you use the arm parts enhancement Hyper Chip special weapon that you get access to for collecting the arm parts enhancement chip. I'm not a fan of it. Honestly, I don't really use this all that much. This is a kind of a nothing. This is kind of a nothing double upgrade, and this is yet another example of Mega Man X3 having a lot of ambition, but its execution leaving something to be desired. Having upgrades for the upgrades is a great idea, and a great way to expand X's moveset and power him up even more. But the execution of what these are isn't that great. And by the way, right now I'm going to show off what happens if you jump from one stage to another with the hyper chip not fully charged up. It does not fully charge up in between stages. That's another weakness of the hyper chip. It's actually called hypercharge. And if you visit a Dr. Light enhancement capsule without having the proper corresponding upgrade, again, this is a enhancement capsule for the ARM parts, so I need to have the ARM parts already to actually use this capsule. But if you don't already have the appropriate upgrades, then Dr. Light will say that you can't actually use this capsule, and that you have to go and find the corresponding upgrade first. In this case, again, this is an enhancement capsule for the ARM parts, so I need to have the actual ARM parts first before I can use this. Otherwise, it's nothing. In the real playthrough, though, I'm not bothering with this. We will get into why in the next video, but I'm going to show off what they all do individually. So that was the ARM parts enhancement capsule. Now, it's time, at last, for Stage 6. Here we go. Another FMV. Another FMV with a cameo. This one had Otto from the classic Mega Man franchise, somehow surviving 100 years or so into the future. Regardless, it's time for Volt Catfish. And already at the very beginning of the stage, we are going to have a secret that we're going to talk about. Volt Catfish is the best stage to go to if you want to challenge Vile. We're not going to challenge him while we're playing this stage and this particular playthrough, but it is the best, and it is the best place to go and challenge him because the warp capsule is so close to the beginning. The warp capsule is right here. Right at the very beginning. But of course, you have to commit because the elevator resets as soon as you leave the screen. So if you decide you don't want to fight Vile, then you're just doomed to just die there, which is unfortunate. And now I'm showing footage of what happens if you visit that particular elevator before defeating two Mavericks. Because again, in the previous video, I explained that warp capsules that lead you to the secret factory where Vile is waiting for an optional boss fight will only begin to spawn in after you defeated two Mavericks. So if you haven't defeated two Mavericks, that elevator that takes you down to where Vile is waiting isn't even there. It doesn't even work. It's there, but it doesn't even work. It doesn't take you anywhere until you've defeated two Mavericks. But we'll get into Vile later because we're going to challenge him when we we're going to challenge him when we do the next stage. For now, though, Volt Catfish. This is another enemy that is unnecessarily difficult with a lot to it. Basically, you attack it a little bit, the little lamps on its head will be destroyed, but then it just creates an aura of electricity that you have to shoot at in order to shrink and finally defeat it. A lot of enemies, even basic enemies in this game, are very multifaceted and have a lot to them. This heart tank that I just collected is recommended you have the elect parts for, but you can just get it with a regular wall dash. But it's recommended that you have the elect upgrades. It makes it easier. But then, of course, I messed it up and I just died. So that's great. Oops, as the little thing said. Anyway, as I was saying, a lot of the basic enemies in Mega Man X3 are very multifaceted and have a lot to them. Multiple attacks, multiple phases in some cases, like these unique little electric enemies in Volt Catfish stage. It's one of the reasons why X3 is considered so difficult comparatively to X1 and X2. Is a lot of the basic enemies just have a lot to them. You can use an air dash to confidently get back to confidently continue on the stage. But if you don't have the air dash, or you're not confident that you're going to be able to make that fall without hitting one of the spikes, then you can just drop all the way to the bottom. The elevators all reset. It's a detriment in the beginning because the elevator that takes you to the warp capsule resets to the very top. where you can't reach it anymore, and you just, you're stuck just dying or entering the secret factory. But all the other elevators begin at the bottom, so, if you miss out on them, then you can just drop down and use them again if you want to. Using the arm parts plus charged up Gravity Beetle in order to get a Dr. Light upgrade, this one for the body parts. Now that we have the body parts, which is what this is, the body armor, now the game is going to be significantly easier. Again, I said when we started the video, when we were going through Blast Hornet stage, that going through Blast Hornet stage was the beginning of making the game easier and changing the tide of the difficulty over to our side. This continues that. Now we have the ability to take half damage from basically everything. It doesn't make the entire game easy, but it makes it easier and more manageable now that we finally have this, so good. There are two ways of getting that upgrade. The one that I showed, and another way I'm not going to show because it's very convoluted and you wouldn't want to get this upgrade that way anyway, but there's going to be a link in the description to show the other way of getting that particular upgrade. Now, though, it's time to encounter and fight the second member of the Nightmare Police. This is Bite. Big red Reploid counterparts to Bit. He is way easier than Bit. He has two weaknesses. He is weak to Neon Tiger and Tunnel Rhino. He is so much easier compared to Bit, it's not even funny. He should have been the first one that you fought, not Bit. It's ridiculous. He only does one thing. He fires that little, by the way, I'm showing off right now that you can't use Zero in the middle of Nightmare Police battles. If you try to switch over to Zero, you can't. Obviously. Anyway, Bite is so easy. All he does is throw that one little grenade, and then he charges at you. If he hits you, it does a little bit of damage and throws you around, but then he just continues doing the exact same pattern here again and again and again. This is the only thing Bite does for the entire battle, and it's so easy to deal with. Just with the leg upgrade, even if you don't have the leg upgrade, just regular dashes are fine. They will work, and they will get you to just completely run circles around Bite as you fight him. And you can this fight is so easy. By the way, I'm showing off here that I'm showing off here that you can do this without the leg upgrade if you really wanted to. Which again, it's so easy to do it because Bite is nothing compared to Bit. Bite is a nothing fight. He's so easy. It is so incredibly easy. I beat him in a very specific way, similar to Bit in the previous episode. I beat him with the X-Buster. The last hit I got in on him was with the X-Buster. This alternate footage, I am going to defeat him with one of his weaknesses. Essentially, I'm going to make sure the last hit is done with one of his weaknesses, which again is Neon Tiger and Tunnel Rhino. It doesn't matter which one; they're both his weaknesses. You can use any one that you want because they're both his weaknesses. His mine is a gravity shot that can repel X away from them. Very easy to deal with regular dashes or the leg upgrade. If you get the last hit in on a member of the Nightmare Police with their weakness, which again in Bite's case is Neon Tiger or Tunnel Rhino, then instead of running away and, promising retribution later down the line, Bite will instead blow up. Just like any other Maverick that you have fought thus far in this game. He will blow up, he will die, and he will no longer appear in the story from this point onwards, changing the circumstances of the Final Fortress a little bit. But we'll talk about that more later, since after we get Volcatch Fish's weapon, I can show off doing this to Bit as well. Anyway. Moving on with the stage. This is the last section of Volcatfish's stage. We are going to go ahead and grab ourselves some ride armor, but actually, we're going to give Zero another chance here. He couldn't use the ride armor normally, but could he call down a ride armor with the ride armor platform? The answer is no. Of course not. Why would he be able to do that when he can't even use ride armor normally? So, of course, if you want to interact with ride armor platforms, you must use X. And in this case, we're going to use ride armor for one very specific thing. It's just to get an upgrade here. By busting down that floor and coming down here, we can get our fourth and final sub-tank. And then that's basically it. We can't use this ride armor for anything else. We can despawn it and go back up to the ride armor platform and then continue using the ride armor for more of this stage. But as I was getting at before, the ride armor is really It's another one of Mega Man X3's great ideas and ambition on display, but the execution leaves a lot to be desired. The ride armor sections, the sections of the level that are dedicated for the ride armor platform where you can freely use a ride armor if you have them, are very limited in scope. I think this one is probably the most expansive of them all because there's so many enemies and so many hazards here that this is probably the best area to use a ride armor platform in. But we'll see in this video and the next that there are some areas that are so short and so nothing and so small that, you know, why even they only put the ride armor platform there just for a puzzle for you to get a heart tank or a sub tank or something. It's kind of crazy. And this particular case in Volt Catfish's stage, the ride armor platform is both used for a puzzle to get to the sub tank, but also for but it's also just a nice expansive area. We'll talk more about that afterwards. So we have Volt Catfish. Volt Catfish does a couple of things. He jumps towards you. He does one large hop and then two small hops afterwards. After he does that, he can do one of two things. He can fire those three little... He can fire his version of Triad Thunder at you, which is the special weapon you get from him. He can also fire little electro balls that follow the ground and then the wall up to the ceiling. His version of the Triad Thunder is the most difficult one it's the most difficult of the things to avoid. I do a really bad job in this boss fight, but I'm also showing off the power of the body armor by just how little damage I'm taking. Here, I'm cutting over to footage showing off how similar to the Nightmare Police encounter, you can't bring Zero into boss fights, and once you are in a boss fight and you have Zero available to switch to, obviously, you can't switch over to Zero in the middle of the boss fight, which is unfortunate. Anyway. Volt Catfish, two things he can do. He fires the little electro ball that falls to the ground and goes up the wall, or he does his version of Triad Thunder, where he fires his little three setup conductors, and then he fires 3 bits of electricity to activate them. I do a terrible job in this fight. This is, by the way, what he's doing now is his desperation attack. When he gets to half health and below, he gets stuck doing just this one attack, his desperation move, where he brings up electric shields to the front and the back, he fires up electric sparks all over the place, and then he charges to whichever direction X is in, then jumps back over to the center of the screen and does the thing over and over and over again. It makes Volt Catfish's fight very, very slow and very, very boring as a result. But if nothing else, this fight does show off power of the body armor, because I take so many hits and I don't die. I still have plenty of health left to spare. Again, the difficulty curve of the game begins to shift over and begins to lessen, and the tide now turns in X's favor now that we have access to the body armor, now that we have dumbed down the that red head gunner enemy that fires the homing missiles and the grenades. Now that we've dumbed that enemy down, now that we have the body armor, the game really starts to get easier. A lot easier. And for beating Volt Catfish, we get the Triad Thunder. This is our shield weapon of the game. I don't know why the other thing that you get from Frost Walrus is called Frost Shield, but this is basically our shield weapon of the game, and it's really great. I'm showing off some new footage of me fighting Bit in a separate playthrough, because now it's time to kill Bit and show off the fact that he does die if you hit him with his weakness for the final hit. He has 2 weaknesses. We saw Frost Shield in action in the previous video against him. He's also weak to Triad Thunder, which is Volt Catfish's weapon. But you're probably only going to be able to get to use Frost Shield on him. But he is also weak to Volt Catfish. And just like Bite, if the last hit you get on him is with his weakness, whether it is the Triad Thunder or the Frost Shield, it doesn't matter which one of the two, they're both his weakness. As long as the last hit is with either Frost Shield or Triad Thunder, then he will blow up, and he will die, and he will disappear from the story from that point onwards. Moving on, it's time to revisit Tunnel Rhino stage, because we have some more stuff to collect. First time we came through Tunnel Rhino stage, the only thing we got was the sub-tank. Now it's time for everything else that the stage has to offer, which is 2 things. The first thing is going to be the heart tank, and the other thing is going to be a duct-like capsule. They're both unlocked the same way, with the arm parts upgrade and with Volt Catfish's weapon. The charged-up version of Triad Thunder is this earthquake thing. It's cool to look at, but it's also not... It's very situational. It's something you only really use to collect upgrades with, and not really something you're going to use normally, as compared to regular Triad Thunder, which is something you will use normally all the time, because regular Triad Thunder is fantastic. It is one of the best special weapons in the game, up there with Ray Splasher, I think. Of course, at this point, we have beaten both members of the Nightmare Police, so the Nightmare Police boss arenas are nothing more than just extra rooms now. They're just things that you fly through, and they're a free little area. Coming all the way up here, which we went through as 0 the last time we were in the stage. We can again use the arm parts and Volt Catfish to get our hands on another Dr. Light capsule. But of course, let's give Zero a chance. Famously in other X games, namely X5, Zero can collect Dr. Light capsules for X, but in X3, of course not. He cannot collect Dr. Light capsules. Why would he? His upgrades are not... His circuitry is not compatible in the same way that X's is, so why would he be able to do anything with a Dr. Light capsule? Alright, so this Dr. Light capsule is going to be the head parts. Very similar to X2, the head parts in X3 are designed to show you secrets. It's better than the X2 version, but it's also very situational and very overall nothing-ish. Especially if you're using collectibles guides to get everything anyway, then this is really not going to be that helpful to you. And even this thing, which shows off secrets, has its limitations. There are certain things that it's not going to show off for you. In this case, we have collected everything in Tunnel Rhino stage, so the only thing that we're going to see now is just a map of the level with no secrets outlined at all because we have collected everything. Before we leave Tunnel Rhino stage, I'm going to go ahead and just fight the mini-boss again, the Hell Crusher, namely because it has 2 weaknesses. One of them is the Triad Thunder. The other one we'll see later. I believe we'll see the other one in the next episode, I believe. But this thing is very weak to Triad Thunder, so you can kill it very quick. You can kill it very quickly with Triad Thunder. Moving on. With the head upgrades, we can now see everything that is in every single stage of the game. If it is in white, it is something you've already collected. And if it is in pink, then it is something you have not collected yet. The question marks that you see throughout all the stages, those are the pink enhancement capsules. There are 4 pink enhancement capsules, so 4 stages that will have question mark, question mark, question mark. Here in Volt Catfish's stage, I'm showing off one of the weaknesses of the head upgrade. Head upgrade outlines and details all the hidden collectibles except for warp capsules. Warp capsules are not shown at all in the maps, so you won't know if there's a warp capsule unless you go out and find it yourself. So far, we've seen one in Blizzard Buffalo, we've seen one in Volt Catfish, and there's one more that we'll see after. Right now, I'm showing off what the head upgrade does for all the stages. If you use the password and you get it really, really early on, you can see all the stages layouts, and you can see where all of the hidden things are. Again, if it's pink on the boss select screen, that means you have not collected that upgrade yet. And, I'm just showing off, a blank slate of what it looks like if you haven't collected anything yet, what the maps will actually look like. You can see in Volt Catfish's stage and in Blizzard Buffalo stage, the collectibles were highlighted as to where the locations were, but not the warp capsules. In my collectibles guide, I'm actually going to do a little bit of an edit to add the locations of the warp capsules to this little screen that X gets here. Also, let the head upgrade show the location of the head upgrade, which it doesn't normally do. Since we're in Neon Tiger stage now, I'm going to go ahead and speed forward because we have another weakness for the sub-boss to show off. So this sub-boss in this stage is the Worm Seeker. We saw it in the first episode. It was weak to Frost Shield, Blizzard Buffalo. But it's also weak to Volt Catfish. So you can use either Frost Shield or Volt Catfish to kill this thing really, really quickly. As you can see. Now that we've beaten the Worm Seeker, we're going to continue on because there was a ride armor platform here. Of all the ride armor platforms in this game, this is the only one that is not connected to any collectibles. This one's just here just for fun. Just, to have an easier time with this section, even though it's not that difficult in the first place. So I'm just showing off using the ride armor here. But it's a very short section. It's a section you can do very, very easily. It's just X, so yeah. Losing all of our health, we will see the ride armor explode and be destroyed. Unlike in, say, Maverick Hunter X with Vile, the exploding ride armor doesn't do any damage to nearby enemies or anything like that. Next, we're going to go and see one of the changes that was brought about by defeating Volt Catfish. It is a little bit annoying that the head upgrade always takes a few seconds to show you the map every time you enter a stage. Defeating Volt Catfish changes Blizzard Buffalo's stage just a little bit, and it's just aesthetic. It's not a gameplay thing. It's the lamps. You can see that the lamps are lit up now because Volt Catfish has been beaten, and the power plant that he was controlling and siphoning power from is free to give out power again. So now the lamps in Blizzard Buffalo stage are turned back on. It's a very small, nothing, just aesthetic thing, but it's there. It's also going to change this area a little bit because now the lights here are on, and the ice has melted as a result of the lights being activated here. It's just for this one area, though, where any sort of significant gameplay thing happens. The warp capsule area is unaffected. This area is unaffected except for the fact that the lamps shine, are illuminating some kind of light. But other than that, there is nothing different. There's nothing else different about Blizzard Buffalo stage after you beat Volt Catfish. There is another change to vote for beating Volt Catfish, but we'll get to that in a little bit when we move into the next Maverick stage. All right. With all that out of the way, let's go after Maverick number 7. Here is another FMV. Target number 7, Crush Crawfish. You noticed as we entered Crush Crawfish's stage, we had the question mark collectible in this stage. That means there is a Dr. Light pink enhancement capsule waiting for us here. You'll also notice that there was one in Blast Hornet stage that we didn't actually get yet. We'll get that one in the next episode. For now, we can see that our collectibles are all really cluttered together at the beginning of the stage. That's interesting. Let's go ahead and move into stage number 7. First thing to keep in mind is you're going to want the arm upgrade. You're going to want the arm parts as well as Volt Catfish's weapon because you need to use the charged up attack in order to destroy that ground there. Yet another instance where Volt Catfish's charged up weapon is needed. Time once again to see if Zero can do a thing. Can he collect the ride armor emblems? Yes. This is like the only thing Zero can do. He can't collect hard tanks, he can't collect sub-tanks, but he can get the little ride armor emblems for some reason. And that's like the only thing he can collect. Good for him. Moving on though, we're already back with X, and it's time to jump over into our new ride armor. We're going to test it out. There's 4 different ride armors in the game. We have the normal Chimera, which is the regular punchy one. We have the Frog one, which is going to be very useful only in niche situations and nowhere else. We have this one that we just got right now, which is the Hawk. This one I think is the coolest. This one lets you fly for a little bit, hover for a little bit, and shoots missiles instead of punching. But the missiles can do the exact same things as punches in most cases. In most cases, I say, because there is one case in Blizzard Buffalo stage where you need a punching ride armor and not a missile ride armor in order to get a specific thing. But in this case, you can use either missiles or punching ride armors to get both the hard tank and this Dr. Light enhancement capsule. This one is for the body armor, I believe. Yeah, the body chip. This is for the body armor. This one is very bare bones, very straight to the point, unlike the hyper chip thing with the arm parts enhancement. The body parts enhancement is just better body armor. Plain and simple. Nothing more to it. So, as we explained before, you can only use one of these ever per playthrough. So as soon as you step into one, you are locked into that choice for the whole rest of the playthrough. So, choose wisely, and I'll tell you right now, don't choose any of them at all, because it's going to be an even better choice if you choose none of them at all. But the body armor, exactly what it says on the tin, exactly what you would expect. It is just more protection from damage. Going off the fact I get hit, I have this red shield now, and I take even less damage than before. So the game is even a little bit easier than it was before. So yay, fantastic. But we're not collecting that in our main playthrough. We don't need that. We're going to get something much, much better later down the road. And of course, at this point, we have beaten both Bit and Byte. So these Nightmare Police mini-boss rooms are just set dressing now. They're just there. They're just extra rooms that we can dash through. Crush Crawfish's stage does feature one more secret. We have collected/seen the 3 things in this stage, but it also has a warp capsule. Pressing buttons on your controller lets you skip boss intros. Now, similar to Blizzard Buffalo and Bolt Catfish, if you come to the stage before beating 2 Mavericks, you will not be able to get access to this warp capsule. The little gap that takes you down here to this hidden area just doesn't exist. Just doesn't exist. You can escape this area if you want to, if you don't want to enter the secret capsule, if you don't want to enter the secret factory stage, but we're going to now. Now we're actually going to interact with this secret factory and do something about this. By beating Volt Catfish, the elevator in the secret factory works. This is another stage thing that changes depending on which Maverick you have beaten beforehand. So if you've beaten Volt Catfish, the elevator will work in the secret factory. And we'll see later what this looks like if you enter this area before beating Volt Catfish. But if you've already beaten Volt Catfish, then the elevator in this area will work. Now, it is time to fight a surprise, but not really a surprise because he's literally there in the on the left side of the screen the entire time he has been. It's Vile, specifically Vile Mark II, riding around in a variant of a ride armor that we will be getting in the next stage, the Kangaroo ride armor, I believe. This is the DRA-00 ride armor. It's a very, very, very simple boss. All he does is just dash to where X is and punch. That's the only thing the ride armor does. One of its weaknesses is Neon Tiger, but you don't even need it. This is such a boring nothing fight that I'm speeding up because it's literally just this one thing. He's as easy as Bite at this point in the fight. Which again, brings up the question of why of these three special rival bosses, Bit was the first one you had to fight. The second phase of Vile is more involved, but he also has a very specific pattern that he follows. He will jump, he will fire down a napalm that shoots a that shoots a column of fire in the direction that X is currently at. And then he will hover up in the air, fire from his fire some shots from his arm cannon. Then he will jump back down to the ground, and he will repeat the process over and over again. So jump, column of fire, hover in the air, arm cannon, back to the ground, rinse and repeat. He has the exact same weaknesses at this point as his ride armor does, so he is weak to Neon Tiger. Similar to Bit and Bite, if the last hit you get in on Vile is with his weakness, he will die and be removed from the story entirely from this point onwards, but we're not going to do that. We're going to beat him with the X-Buster so that we can see him later. So we can see him later in the story. Beating him with just the X-Buster is going to be a very, very it's going to be a very quick thing. There's no dialogue here at all. He just disappears immediately because he, as he said before the fight started, the factory is going to explode, and this was just to keep us busy. So we now have a 50-second countdown timer. You will die if you allow the 50 seconds to pass, but you should be quick enough to get out of here before then. Especially if you have Volt Catfish's weapon. If you have Volt Catfish's weapon, then you can get through these little barriers here very, very quickly. And of course, if you have Volt Catfish's weapon, that means you've beaten Volt Catfish. And if you've beaten Volt Catfish, then you can just take the elevator up, which is going to be a very safe, if slightly slower way to get out of here, but a very safe way, as the falling debris has no chance of hitting you. I would dash because these falling blocks are very, very they're very misleading. They will drag you down as soon as you step on them, so I would recommend not even stepping on them at all, and just doing a dash to circumvent those blocks as you escape. And once you complete a secret factory level, the warp capsules will disappear, and the entrances to reach them will also be blocked off, at least in the case of Volt Catfish's stage and Crush Crawfish's stage. Blizzard Buffalo has nothing to block off, so the warp capsule just disappears. After you beat Vile, the warp capsule just disappears. And you spawn at the nearest checkpoint. There is another scenario where the warp capsule will disappear, but we will talk about that in the next video after we defeat all of the Mavericks. For now, just know that after you beat the secret factory level, warp capsules will disappear. You can't go back there since the whole thing blew up. And again, there is another scenario where those capsules disappear, but we will cover that in the next episode as we get set up for the final fortress at that point. Parasitic Bomb works really well here, I find. Again, the hierarchy of special weapons in Mega Man X3 is the Ray Splasher, the Triad Thunder, and Parasitic Bomb, I think, are the three good ones that you want to be using most of the time as you as you go through this game. Continuing on though, I decided I wanted to kill this enemy here. I just sped up for a moment just to go through destroying it. This is a unique little room. This is not a mini boss, but it is something that you have to interact with in order to proceed with the level. Basically, you destroy that, and the entire submarine that we're on goes sideways, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool, but I kind of wish it was its own mini boss that led to that. But you know, whatever. X3 is already so big and has so much stuff going on in this game that it's fine. If it's just going to be a little nothing room that you can interact with and be done with it at that point. Time for Maverick number 7, our 7th boss fight, our 7th main boss fight. It's Crush Crawfish. He is very, very, very easy. It's so easy to get him into a repeatable, predictable pattern. All you have to do is just walk jump to the very top. He will throw out his little boomerangs that don't even hurt you, just get you back down to the ground. And then he will try and fire his claw at you. But if you were already at the very top of the ceiling, then he's going to very likely just fire his claw at you diagonally up to where you were, missing you entirely. If he gets a hold of you, as you saw in the previous footage, he can do some big damage on you. The footage also showed a dash he could do. Otherwise, you can just get into this little dance here of just climbing up the wall, get knocked down. He tries to aim to where you used to be like a few seconds ago and completely miss you and just make this into a nothing boss fight. If you decide to use his weakness, then this boss fight becomes a little bit more involved because you will have to get up close to him and you'll have more chances to grab you and do some big damage, as you saw in the previous footage where I cut to a different part of the playthrough. But otherwise, if you decide not to use his weakness, you can really just get him into a very predictable, easy pattern where he does nothing, where he can't do anything to you for the majority of the fight. For beating him, we get another pretty useful special weapon. Not the most useful. It's not up there with the Parasitic Bomb and Ray Splasher and Triad Thunder, but Spinning Blade is pretty good. I like Spinning Blade a lot. You can do some. It's pretty useful. It has its own niche use here. So now that we have Spinning Blade, I'm going to go ahead and return to Volt Catfish's stage. This is a separate playthrough where I have not fought Vile yet, because I want to show off that similar to Bit and Bite, if you defeat Vile with his weakness, then he will die and be removed from the story entirely. And also showing off, by the way, that we can play as Zero right now. Zero can't interact with warp capsules, and once you enter the secret factory, you cannot switch over to Zero at any point. Zero is completely locked out of the secret factory level. He cannot interact with it at all. This is purely a trap for X, which is kind of weird because you would think Vile has a bone to pick with both X and Zero. You saw, by the way, I have not beaten Volt Catfish yet, which means that the elevator does not work. That is the other big difference that Volt Catfish inspires once you beat him. Beat him and the elevators here work. If you don't beat him, the elevators do not work. And it's just a little bit, just a smidge harder because of it. So, back to the boss fight. We saw earlier that Vile was weak to, Vile and his right armor were weak to Neon Tiger. Vile and his right armor are also both weak to Crush Crawfish. Destroying the right armor with the weakness does nothing. It doesn't kill Vile. It doesn't set up anything for Vile to die. It's only in this second phase of the fight, this one-on-one X versus Vile, if you hit him with his last hit, if the last hit you get in on him is with his weakness, which again is either Neon Tiger or Spinning Blades, they're also the weaknesses for the right armor. If the last hit that you get on him is with Neon Tiger or Spinning Blades, then Vile will die. As he is talking about right here, he is going to haunt X to the day that he dies. He will not appear again for a very long while, but he will come back eventually. Vile is at this point, essentially kind of a semi-regular rival to X and to Zero. I do like the idea of bringing Vile back again. As an initial trilogy, it's a nice way to cap off the trilogy by bringing back a character like this from the first game. So I do like that, and I do like that Vile comes back later on as well to be a sort of continuing ongoing menace for X and Zero. Not for a very long time, but he will eventually come back again as a rival once more. Anyway, once again, we have to escape. Don't have old catfish weapons, so it's a little bit harder. And the elevator doesn't work, so we have to climb up ourselves. You're more prone to get hit from the falling debris, but it's also a little bit faster than the elevator, quite frankly. Showing off that there are no bottomless pits here, that this is just... these blocks just drag you down to the bottom and waste your time. That's all that they do. The blocks are just here to drag you down and waste your time and not actually lead you to death. They just waste your time so that the counter can count down and actually kill you. If the timer hits 0, then you will die. Silver lining, the life in the escape sequence does respawn. And if you come back, then you will see that the door that was destroyed when you beat or kill Vile is just there for some reason. It's a very weird little thing that happens when you come back to the when you're revisiting little details like that about the stages. Anyway, after you beat Vile, the elevator there is blocked off. You can't go back down that elevator to go back to the secret factory because the warp capsule has disappeared because we have beaten Vile. And of course, this stage has nothing to block off, but the warp capsule after beating Vile just disappears as well. Alright, with that, let's go after our final Maverick. One more FMV. Alright, talking for almost an hour now. It's quite a lot to say. Mega Man X3 is chock full of stuff, but here we go. This is our final Maverick Toxic Seahorse at last. A very straightforward stage with something... Well, no, it is a straightforward stage, but there is quite a bit to talk about once we get to the actual water portion of the stage. As you can imagine, sewers, this is going to be our water level for the set of Mavericks here. I love the soundtrack, by the way. I haven't talked enough about that because this has been so much to talk about in for X3, but the soundtrack of X3 is amazing. I think it's genuinely a little bit better than even the X1 soundtrack. The X3 soundtrack is phenomenal. I love the X3 soundtrack so much. Of the initial trilogy, the SNES soundtrack for X3 is my favorite one, I think. Having played this so many times for practice and for the actual recording, I think the X3 is like my actual favorite one at this point. Doing some basic wall jumping up here to get our final heart tank. And there we go. And of course, we have beaten Bit and Byte, so this is just a useless, nothing mini-boss room that presents nothing for you because we've already beaten both members of the Nightmare Police, and we'll see them in the next episode. Another ride armor platform here. This is the only ride armor platform where you would want to use the frog armor. As we will cover in the next episode, other ride armors that aren't frog don't work under the water. Frog is the only one that works under the water. It is why it exists. It is why it is here. Frog is here just for underwater portions of the game, but there are so few of them that, for the most part, the frog ride armor is very nothing. It's very nothing and very useless. And in fact, for the thing that we're about to collect right now, you don't even need you don't actually need the frog armor itself. And we'll get to that a little bit later, why that's the case. But for now, we're using it just to show it off. And also in the next video, we'll talk about why you need the frog armor to explore this top area here. But for now, we've used the frog armor, showing off the fact that X3, like X2, has splash jumps. They are infinitely easier to do in X3 as compared to X2. And yeah, that's all there is to it. And Zero, now we're going to test out and see if Zero can splash jump as well. Good news is Zero can also splash jump. That's great, but he doesn't have an air dash, so it's a little bit less useful for Zero as compared to X. Also, pink Dr. Light Enhancement Capsule. Zero can't interact with those either, but why would he? He can't even interact with the regular ones, so why would he be able to interact with the pink ones? Answer, he can't. This Dr. Light Enhancement Capsule is for the leg parts. You need to have the leg parts first in order to get the leg enhancement capsule. This is another straightforward upgrade for an upgrade. This lets you dash in the air 2 times. So instead of just 1 air dash, now you get 2. It's very straightforward, very simple. Of the 4 Dr. Light Enhancement Capsules, I think this one is the best. If you had to choose one of the 4 to upgrade, the legs is probably the best one. Well, I mean, no, you know what? I say that, but the body armor, having extra hit protection, having two air dashes is great, but the game is not designed for X to have 2 air dashes. There's like nowhere to use it. So as cool as it is to dash in the air 2 times, there's actually nowhere to really use it. So you know what? Never mind. The body one is still the best one. Showing off here, by the way, this is footage of me already having the leg enhancement chip and going into a second pink enhancement capsule to see if I can get away with installing 2 enhancement chips at once. But as Dr. Light will say after we speed forward the regular dialogue, we will not be able to. So he's going to realize right now that we already have another chip installed and that we cannot install a second one. And then he's going to be very blunt with us and just say that life is sometimes cruel, isn't it, X? It's a very blunt thing for Dr. Light to say. I don't know why he would say it like that. And, you know, you can't use the enhancement capsule after you already used one. But of course, in the actual main playthrough, we're not using any of them. There's 2 ways to get the next collectible, which is going to be the last of the ride armors that we can use. We can splash jump our way. If you're going to be splash jumping, I would recommend having the leg upgrades just so you can get here faster, and also to actually get up here to where the K emblem is, which is for the kangaroo ride armor, which is going to be the ride armor that Vile used against us in the secret factory. The other way is by having Blizzard Buffalo's Frost Shield, the arm parts, you can charge up Blizzard Buffalo's weapon. Instead of doing the thing that we saw in Neon Tiger stage in the first episode, you create a little chunk of ice that floats up the surface. And this also allows you to splash jump your way over to the pink enhancement capsule with the leg chip upgrade, with the leg enhancement chips. Allowing you to just skip the use of the frog armor entirely if you have the arm parts and Blizzard Buffalo's weapon, and ideally also the leg parts. But you don't actually need the leg parts to splash jump. It's just easier to splash jump with the leg parts because you get more distance after a jump because you get to air dash. This mini boss, one of its weaknesses is Triad Thunder. We will see more of its weaknesses in the next episode. I say that because we're already at 1 hour and 4 minutes, and you know, I figured at this point we just want to wrap up, so we're gonna just speed through the rest of the stage, and all the extra stuff regarding Toxic Seahorse's stage we will cover in the next episode, the last main episode. So continuing onward, we have one last little bit of stage here to go. Water is receding down. Overall, I find X3, again, very, very ambitious, very big, a lot of stuff to it, and that's good. But I think this game is ambitious to its detriment. It is so ambitious and so large and has so much stuff going on that it is to its detriment, and a lot of the solid pacing and feel from the first Mega Man X and even the second game to an extent is lost in X3 because of just how gigantic this game is and just how much stuff there is to do and to collect. Anyway, time for Toxic Seahorse. As a boss, he is okay. He jumps around, he can fire his acid burst attack at you, which is a little ball of acid that he lobs in your general direction. If you don't destroy it with the X-Buster, which you can destroy with the X-Buster if you hit it enough, then it will just bounce around the walls and shoot out little globs of acid down to the ground that can hurt you. Not great, but it's not that terrible either. It's not, it's not that bad. The first phase is not that bad anyway. The second phase is a little bit more annoying because instead of just slowly lobbing out an acid burst at you, he will do the charged up version of the attack, where he will just very, very quickly fire one or two of those little acid balls to bounce around and, you know, try to very quickly get at X. He also goes completely invincible and descends down into the ground, as we saw in the FMV, and then just jump back up. This, you know, he can't get you if you're up in a wall, so it's really just a time-wasting attack. It's a time-wasting desperation technique for him to recede into the ground and then pop back up close to where you are. It's not you know, there's not that much to him. Toxic Seahorse is done. He's dead. It's been over an hour now. We have beaten all 8 Mavericks. Next time we're going to go over some more extra stuff, and then we go after Dr. Doppler himself in his laboratory. And of course, mysterious Shadow Man that we saw, which is obviously going to be Sigma, of course. Last thing I want to mention, Toxic Seahorse's special weapon name changes in Rockman X3 as compared to Mega Man X3, just like Gravity Beetle's weapon. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching. See you all next time. Bye-bye.